All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside In Tennis Podcast. Mitch Michals here, all on the Believe Network. Great content, great stuff. This podcast is on all your platforms, Apple, Spotify, you know the drill. My YouTube channel at Mitch Michals. It's Wimbledon, and we are 2 days in to a chaotic start at the All England Club. Joining me now, it must be a big tournament if he's on the show, but Barstool Hubbs is here to talk Wimbledon. Hubbs, man, what's going on? How's everything been?
What's going on in this tournament? What is this? What are we watching? The top 3 of the top 5 seeds in the women's side are gone. A handful of big names in the men's side gone. What's happening? What's going on?
I was going to say, did you want to start upsets first? Did you want to start heat? Did you want to start curfew?
I have so many words to say about the curfew, and you're like the only one who will listen to me. So we're going to get to that at some point. I'm experiencing the heat right now in New York City doing this outside. But, I mean, how do we not start with the upsets? Coco Gauff. Now, I'll say this. I'm going to sound like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling she was going to lose.
No, you're not alone. I mean, look, Dayana Yastremska, not a bad player. They played an epic match in Madrid. That's the match you're alluding to. Yastremska beats her in straight sets. Tiebreak in set 1, 6-1 in set 2. So Coco Gauff, who wins Roland Garros, an iconic performance there. She finishes her grass season, Hubbs, with 0 wins. I know she didn't play that many tournaments, but no wins on the grass. She wasn't coming in with good form, and Yastremska plays very aggressive. She goes for a lot. She'll miss a lot, but she knows what she can do out there. And in this match, especially that second set, it was 2 stories, and we can get into that with some upsets. It's not always just a player choked or a player just played out of their mind. A lot of times it's a little bit of both, and I don't want to take much away from Yastremska and what she went for, but Coco was starting to unravel in the lighter stage of that second set. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's the most shocking result. I think the other American is actually more shocking.
100%. So, real quick before we get to Pegula, the fact that I'm looking it up real quick to my the fact that Yastremska was able to even force this to a tiebreak after blowing the 5-2 lead in the first set was shot. I thought this was 7-5 at that point.
Yeah.
And then she gets the tiebreak, and then she just like, it's fine. Goldfish brain. Forget what just happened. Gonna rip winners. Coco's serve was an atrocity. And her game just isn't really built for grass. She even said that after the match. She's like, I got to change how I play. It's not now. Granted, it is not easy with how quick we go from Roland Garros to Wimbledon to adapt to the grass, and I think they even said before they changed the grass up in recent years to make it slower, people would just like the clay court people would just skip.
Well, it used to be one less week. How crazy is that? When like Johnny Mack and Bjorn Borg were playing, Bjorn Borg would win Roland Garros, and he'd play Queens Club 2 days later.
Crazy.
It's like
crazy.
But I will say, like, you brought up another thing with the goldfish brain and certain things. I saw a stat today, or I was told a stat today that I'm pretty sure is true, that statistically speaking, the players that are 2 sets up and blow it and you go 5, they're still more likely to win the match than the player that's 2 set down. It's more likely than not. And I do think that's what makes tennis unique, right, is that these players are so good at resetting, at not getting down, because tennis is so unique. There's no other sport. You give up 3 touchdowns in football. It's not like, I can just start fresh.
For sure. I don't know if I disagreed with the insights. They were showing them, the IBM insights, but they said going into the 5th, GMP had better percentage odds than he did to win the match going into the 3rd, which makes zero sense. But so I think the computer's just broken. Maybe plug it back in, plug it out, plug it back in. But it's a little bit maybe to what you're saying, but I didn't agree with what it was saying.
No, and that's a player that's significantly ranked higher. That's also had the momentum. I know momentum is like a taboo word in a lot of ways, but if you want momentum in sports, maybe the best example is a player that's down 2 sets in Fritz's case, who just absolutely stole set 4. And I know we're jumping around the podcast, which is what we do.
Yep.
The curfew, well, I just want to get that out of the way. So Fritz wins that set, wins the 4th, battles back, gets it going. 42 minutes until curfew starts. When you were a kid and you were told, hey, get home by this time, you had 42 minutes. You probably were able to stay out a little longer. The fact that they didn't want to play a little tennis. And look, I understand the tradition. I understand the history, Hubs, with everything that goes down. The fact that they asked the players and it was like, no, sorry, Fritz wants to play. It's like, well, your opinion doesn't matter. blanket it with the rule then. Say, look, if you finish a match at this point, we will not start a set. Just send them home immediately after. The fact that they kept them out there and dangled that carrot in front of Taylor's face was, in my mind, very poor form.
Yeah, Taylor's comments after yesterday and then after today were pretty open and honest about it and not happy still. And he was more blaming the umpire because I guess what? Him and GMP would have to both agree. And if they don't agree, then it's up to the umpire. But then he didn't like the umpire's explanation. And they were also told that like 11 p.m. was looming, but like, hey, like we have to stop. But 42 minutes is enough time here.
Especially with those guys.
With how short their games are.
Yeah.
It's so quick. Obviously it is going to go to most likely tiebreak. It didn't actually go to a tiebreak, but maybe if they had played yesterday, it was going that way. But infuriating. My vent is obviously it's the dumbest rule in all of sports. It's number one dumbest rule in all of sports. The fact that it's not as much like one player is obviously going to have a disadvantage. One guy's going to have momentum going into the fifth. One's not. The thing that sucks the most is to have to be a fan there who paid good money. You're watching 4 sets already. You want to see the conclusion. You don't have a ticket for tomorrow, most likely. So someone's going to luck in and just seeing a great fifth set to decide it. So you take that away from the fans. So part of it is the neighborhood, right? There's a noise ordinance. Guess what? If you're going to buy a house or live there, you got to understand that 2 weeks of the year this is going to happen. Why are we appeasing the people who live for 2 weeks out of the 52 of the year? Why can't they just handle adversity one time? Why can't they just experience? Oh, it's gonna be a little noisy around 11:30, a few times, literally a handful of times. It's insane. There is part of it that the U.S. Open does get a little silly. I like it. Now maybe I'm getting a little bit older and I can't stay up as late as I used to, but being there for Sinner Alcaraz a couple years ago, they went till 2:30 in the morning, was awesome.
Yeah.
But the players hate it. So that you're the complete opposite here. But the players also don't like this. So it's just a mess, man. I hate it. I hate it so much. Why they don't have lights? I get it. It's a historic tournament. Put lights. Come on.
I know. It is. It's a tough one to explain right to the casual or non-tennis fan. That's maybe the sign of a bad rule or tradition, that it's tough to explain to people that don't know, and they're just parachuting in like, what are you doing here?
It's tough to explain to me, and I love the sport. It doesn't make sense. These people are just so in out of their way.
How about how hard Taylor Fritz competes? That was the underlying thing. I know Mpetshi Perricard's going to be kicking himself about losing this match, and similar to Yastremska, right? He plays bold. He knows what his weapons are. He made some mistakes, but for Fritz to, and I haven't talked to Anisimova in a while, but to win with what I would probably guess he'd say is his C level, if not worse. That's an impressive feat. The guy just fights. He just has heart, and he just found a way. That's the best way you can put it.
Listen, man, that's a tough first-round opponent. That's brutal. But GMP is just, if that serve is so... Now, Taylor did a great job, and they were kind of criticizing you for a little bit of him standing on the baseline so close, but he was doing that to block his serve with the block return, and that's how he ends up breaking him in the fifth, and that's how he stayed in there, and was able, I think what he said, he block the 150? He won a point on 150-mile-an-hour serve yesterday. So crazy, but yeah, I mean, the cojones on him, and to just stay in there mentally, where how frustrating that's got to be, and obviously in that tiebreak where you're down 2 mini breaks to Perricard, that's a death sentence.
He was on the verge. Yeah, he was on the verge of getting knocked out first round in back-to-back majors. For a player of his stature, would not have been good. It doesn't get any easier because his second round is Gabriel Diallo, and
you're getting a big server again, and a guy who's having a great year and breaking out before our very eyes, and plays with a ton of confidence. I do like Taylor's chances again, but it won't be easy. And Taylor, what this does though is if Taylor were to make a run, these hours on court, you're now playing. Is it? It's not tomorrow, is it?
It's tomorrow. Yeah,
and
that's
tomorrow.
Part of it. That's part of why not finishing sets him back. And but Diallo, I mean, look, similar but also very different to Mpetshi Perricard. Much better athletically at the net. He's very, very comfortable with his wingspan. So it's going to be a different type of challenge. But I'm with you. If you if you beat these early, sometimes the early tough tests lock you in and propel you for better success. But it's a gamble because, yeah, I'm sure the top players would be like, I'd rather have cupcakes early. But that said, a guy like Fritz, he beats Mpetshi, Perricard, and Diallo, could be fine with a little extra pep in his step.
Yeah, it's honestly however which way you want to spin it. One way, it's like, dude, you're going to be exhausted if you get to the fourth round here, the quarters. The other way is you're battle tested. So, yeah, it's whatever which way you want to positively or negatively spin it.
Could not believe that Jessie Pegula lost today the way she did. I mean, that
I didn't
was
watch
just...
the match. It was early. I couldn't believe when I saw it. I didn't even think for a second. Like, the odds very much showed you that Coco was going to be in hell today. Or, you know, she was going to lose a set. It was like minus 110 to lose a set, 450, like, money line odds. Coco's caliber, she's got to be up there. Pegula was not in that stratosphere. Like, they very much thought this was going to be, and I don't know, man. She just didn't have it. Just had zero.
Yeah, she looked like she was stuck in neutral, like stuck in mud, I would say. And Chacharito was playing great, like she was moving. I thought everything that she did to take advantage of a player that was subpar. But we also have the statistic, too, of, I mean, look, this has happened before. Pegula's got back-to-back Wimbledons where it hasn't happened. Also, maybe, and I hate to say it because I like tennis year-round as you do, but look at everybody that won titles last week. Taylor Fritz was lucky to survive.
Yes.
Greeks 4 out. Pegula out. Maya Joint played Samsonova, and she was the underdog.
Bublik.
But still. Bublik was 2 weeks ago, but still, I mean, you know, you're maybe, and Wimbledon, they gave her Tuesday. You know, Greek Sport played a day after the fact. Fritz as well. It's tough to just get off of a plane and go, and not all grass courts, you know this, are the same. I doubt Pegula had any real hits, like any real, you know, high-intensity hits, and the depth of the game is strong. She didn't have her best stuff. She was playing a player who was playing lights out for some stretches, and a disappointing end to what could have been a successful grass court, especially with, as you know, how wide open the field is and continues to be.
Yeah, completely disappointing. You know, for her, it's like, you know, we want her to break through so badly, and then you have her and Coco 2 and 3. It's like, this is gonna be a nice little situation for the Americans here. They're out before you can blink. It's just, it's very disappointing, and straight sets too. What the hell, man? It's just crazy.
Well, before we're going to break down the women's side in a second, I want to kind of stay on the upset theme because there's a lot to get to in the last 2 days. 2-day match that did see the upset happen was Rinderknech knocking off Sasha Zverev. So, wow, you know, and that was one where it could have been over earlier. The second set ended on Monday night, and Rinderknech basically choked and lost that tiebreak and had to think all night about how he should have been up 2-0.
Yep.
And then he kind of choked again in set 4 when he could have won it in 4. But to his credit, to his much-deserved credit, he had that, as you say, goldfish brain, dug back in and found a way to beat Zverev, a struggling Zverev, which we'll get to. But for Rinderknech, this is the win he was hoping to have and finally got.
I believe Zverev was minus 525 going into the 5th set. This match was over.
Yeah.
You know who could lose that match? Zverev. This guy is just... It just speaks for itself how he just chokes his way out of every single slam. This was especially crazy. His quotes after are, he's just completely lost.
You know what? I think it's worse. I slightly disagree, and I actually think it's worse. I was seeing stuff today that made me think Rinderknech was actually the better player, like it wasn't just the choke. And I think that's a worse sign. How he was dropping him, how he was moving around.
That's fair.
And I'll say maybe to meet you halfway, Zverev is playing a lot more timid than he had in the past. Is that a choke? Is that mental? Something is wrong, obviously, but he doesn't look like the same guy out there.
Dude, he just settles for rallies. Like, even in the final game, where Rinderknech is up 40-love, serving for it out, and you could see he was getting tight again, and Zverev was just putting rally balls back to him. He's not even trying. It's right at him. He's not trying to go left corner, right corner. No. He's just... It's the same story. This is how he loses in slams. He doesn't try and win a point. He just tries to not lose a point. And that's not how that's not how you survive. That's not how you win a slam.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he didn't play with more urgency. Still ranked pretty high given, the ranking system, but
because any non-slam he usually gets pretty far. I mean, to be fair, he usually gets quarters in slams, right? I think this was the first time he hasn't been a quarter in a long time, but he doesn't get past the quarters, or he doesn't, win anything.
Yeah.
But like he can win in 1000s, he can win 500s, he just can't Just can't get it done here.
There's been regression for some of the players in his generation, I think.
Oh my God.
And I know every area is different. Medvedev, which Bonzi played well. Of all the upsets I think we're going to talk about, maybe Bonzi was the player that I thought, okay, like he is redlining here, but Medvedev can't get comfortable. And then the Tsitsipas injury news and how that was like the saddest press conference maybe I've ever seen. Like he just sounded and physically looked Hubbs defeated with his back injury.
I have a coworker who is vacationing in Europe right now, who may or may not have ran or seen Tsitsipas in a French airport today, looking as sad as humanly possible. So yeah, and you want to parlay this with the rumors of Badoza that apparently their relationship is over. So he's not in a good spot right now. Yeah, I mean his game is a joke. It has been for a while. His back injury, he finally is. He said it's something he's been dealing with for quite a bit now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy who just has no answers right now, and it's just this. It's almost like the insanity thing. The definition of insanity is trying to do something again and again and again, hoping for a different result. Like it's the same exact Tsitsipas every time.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't want to be complete devil's advocate here. Grass has never been his thing.
No,
like he's just so maybe with Goran there, who is a proven coach. If he can get healthy, maybe on the hard court swing we can see signs. But yeah, the rankings dipped, and yeah, of all the players, I mean, even like because we talked about Medvedev too. Like, has he peaked? Has he reached his ceiling? What's going on with him? That was weirder because he looked good in Halle. Like he loses the Bublik, but Bublik played well. So I thought maybe there was some stuff there. And then he has a day which he's had in the past where he just unravels, gets mad, plays an opponent playing well, and he's shaking hands out round 1-2.
The Medvedev stuff is for a while. It's just like he's so smart up. He can outsmart his opponent. The angles he takes, the special returning position where he could just return anything and hit these low liners right over the net, and it just frustrates people. But the serve and the offensive, it's just everyone's caught up to him.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed here. I think I've said this on maybe a few pods ago with you, but with how talented the tour is, you got to continuously be getting better. Medvedev seems to have just really leveled out, if not dipped. And when you do that, you get left. And this has happened to Medvedev, unfortunately. I really want him to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's one of the best characters on the tour. But it just hasn't. Him, Tsitsipas, and Zverev have really just gotten whacked by the tour.
I don't like when I see a player just lose quickly. I'll put it that way. When it goes south and there's no plan B, there's no way to I'm not saying it's got to be like, hockey or baseball where you just start to throw inside or start a fight or something, but show something, show something of some resolve, even if it's not your day. And we haven't seen it from Medvedev. The other player I want to mention before we move on, an upset loss, but really more about what happened after the fact. I'm at the end of my rope as a Holger Rune somewhat supporter because he battled back. Jarry's tough. We know this. Loses in 5, forces a 5th. Okay, not the worst loss. I mean, every loss we basically said was probably worse than this one.
Yeah.
But those comments in the media hubs were just Bush League beyond belief. And I don't know why he keeps resorting to not really accepting the fact that you got beat by someone. There's one way to say I could have played better, but saying with all due respect, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I beat this guy 9 times out of 10 if I'm healthy, was utterly insane to me.
What are you talking about? And it's also not like didn't Batista Agut just serve bot him a tournament ago and make him look completely useless? It's not playing well. You're just not playing well. It's very disrespectful. And Jarry served great, and served to win the match. Just plain and simple. That is Bush League by.
Yeah, there's potential there, but look, it started, and I'm not even saying this to really pile on, but when you say, and I know confidence is key and you fake it till you make it. Oh, the big 3 is me, Alcaraz, and Sinner. Well, I think people are going to be like, okay, start performing. You want to hold yourself to these standards, start producing.
Yeah.
Since he said that comment, where has it been? So.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a guy who definitely should have more accolades than he does with the talent he has, and it just hasn't been there. At first it was physical, and now it's a mental side, it seems like.
there was like I don't know if I know because I think you follow wrestling a little bit, but in the early 2000s, when he was coming up, when Randy Orton was coming up, when he first became a bad guy, he would do this like health update where it was like my shoulder is like 22% good or whatever, and that's kind of what I think of Holger every time there's a loss. It's like I had a stomach ache, and it was tough. I fought through it with my knee. At a certain point, we're just tired of it. You just not just him, like just excuses are excuses. You're out there, you compete, like that's it. You take the court. We expect your best. So
yeah, and also like people have won slams not feeling their best. It's just a thing, like you can power through it. I'm sure you're hurting if you actually do have an injury. I'm sure you're hurting, but like it just never looks good when you use that type of injury card.
More with Barstool Hubbs here on the Inside in Tennis podcast. Wimbledon 2025 first round is now officially in the books, so we're into round 2. All right, Hubbs, as the resident Alcaraz guy, probably in all in New York City, how do you assess the performance that we saw round 1 against Fabio Fognini, a guy who was going out with a bang, has been an exciting wild card of a player, but also doesn't have any tour wins in 2025? Alcaraz goes to 5 sets in a very lackluster performance for his standards. How do you assess what we saw from Carlitos in round 1?
I wasn't really worried until he went 5, and I'm like, what's happening? What's going on here? His serve was dog shit. Fognini was teeing off on his second serve, just absolutely blasting his return. And that's, when he was younger, that's what we knew Fognini to be. He's a guy who, didn't he break like Nadal's like crazy clay court streak or something like that? Or
he beat him at the U.S. Open when Nadal, the only loss Nadal's ever had in a major up 2 sets to love, came to Fabio Fognini.
Okay. I swear he won a 1,000 also. Beating, right?
Monte Carlo. He beat Nadal en route to it. Yeah,
just a guy who's super talented and can hit with extreme power. That forehand is he plays in such a weird way, like laissez-faire, and it looks like he doesn't care at times. He can be so cavalier, but when it's your last Wimbledon, you're going to be locked in. And Carlos, this is the difference between Carlos and Sinner, right? Sinner doesn't have these dips. Sinner, what he did today, just absolutely steamrolled. But when it comes in later and he plays Carlos, then Carlos is locked in. But Carlos has a very tough ability to like stay super locked in early on, or if it's a non-slam or something, it's just that level just doesn't stay super high. And you kind of saw it, and he was lucky to get out of there. Honestly, like that return wasn't good, and what's weird is because like he looked so good in Queens. Obviously early on he almost lost, but. He looked good in Queens, and I don't know, it's a weird dip, but it might be something that you forget about and laugh about, and he's able to cruise on after this. He gets a qualifier next, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, he gets the British qualifier, Tarvet, who was a college player over here. So Felix, I think, is next.
If he's struggling there, I'm worried. Yeah, Felix could be a different story, but Felix is also a walking choke artist himself. So, but yeah, I mean, I would hope he gets right against the qualifier and then resets. But yeah, that wasn't a good level whatsoever.
You made me think of something I forgot to ask too. During the RG final, were you just out on the same spot, just pacing around? Were you walked to the couch? How'd you watch Roland Garros 2025? Alcaraz Sinner.
How did I watch it? I had just gotten a puppy that morning. We got a brand new puppy. So my fiance was bringing him home. Met her at the airport at 6 a.m. Sat down, we're setting up the whole apartment, and basically his first interaction with me was watching the Roland Garros Final. And like my fiance's sleeping, she was just in a red eye, so I was trying to stay quiet while also being like, "What's going on?" And she came out at like 2 p.m., something like that, and she goes, "How is this still on?" And she could see me, and I'm like, I haven't moved a muscle on the couch, like just frozen because I can't make any sounds. And I'm like, "You have no idea what you're watching." And I think the tiebreak had just started. It was a lot. There was a lot going on in this brain. It was quite the day, but I was happy to be rewarded with Carlos winning that.
Yeah, the momentum swings in a final like that. I'm curious because it's a lot of time. People have things to do? Do you just pause it? There's a lot of stories I've heard that involve watching it on their phone somewhere that they have to be when talking about how people watch.
So my coworker fights. He had to go film something at 3. And I've gotten him into Carlos Mania, and he was watching it from first ball, and he was like, "I can't believe that I'm just going to be late to this thing at 3 o'clock." and it's because I cannot leave my apartment because I don't think he's one of those guys who's going to watch on his phone. He goes, I got to watch it for the TV. And he was late first thing at 3:00 in some unpredictable way.
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe what we were seeing. Well, as you know, as you said, Alcaraz advances. It was tricky, but he got there. Sinner advances. Djokovic gets through. Weird one today from Djokovic. We started recording this when it was still going, but weird performance. Muller gets a set. I think it was a story of, and we've seen matches. I know you were a Federer guy back in the day where Joker had all these break points, just couldn't convert them. It was 1-1, and you're like, how is this happening? Joker took a medical timeout, which could have just been to catch his breath, but he gets through, and he's the master at ramping up. We'll see where it goes from there, but a lot of people are putting this on him, Hubbs, that this is it. Like, this is the last best chance he'll have to win. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We shall see. He's on Sinner's side of the draw, which I don't think he's thrilled about, but Here we go.
Crazy he lost that second set. I think he won 4 more points than Muller in that second set. Kind of weird. And he was up 5-2 in the tiebreak, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see Novak losing those types of tiebreaks, especially to a guy like Muller. We'll see what kind of shape he's in. I don't think, we talked about this, how he is true, like it's 3 guys that really separate themselves from the rest of the tour when it comes to these slams. Like, he's still in that upper echelon, and there's a big drop off the 4. Although maybe like a Draper or something can get up there. Draper looked good today, and it was quick. But yeah, this could very well be the last hurrah. I don't know if he's a guy. I can't tell. I can't put a finger on it if he would just go away and not tell everyone this is his last Wimbledon, similar to how Federer did it, or if he would do the swan song and do this one more time and be like, yeah, this is my last one. Can't tell. But, I mean, you have to treat it like this is it, because the way he's looked, and, he had gone so long without even winning, like, a tournament. So he gets Dan Evans next. That's going to be a breeze. Dan Evans is the most boring tennis player to ever watch. So, yeah, I mean, just slice 1,000 times. It's a terrible watch. And then Kesimanovic could be interesting. I don't think De Jong, but, he should get to Demon Hour. He should get there, with no problems. I mean, he will get there. He should get there without any problems. And it's going to be for him. How short of time are you staying on court before you get deep into this thing, and you get to Sinner? Because that's really what it comes down to when you get that age. When you're at his age, you need to minimize. You can't do what Fritz is doing. You can't do that.
Yeah, the shout out to Kekmanovic. He is built to go. We saw him beat Tommy Paul at Australia in the heat. He did it to Mickelson again, but he has that problem. Djokovic versus other Serbians is like Rafa versus other Spaniards.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yep.
Look up the head-to-heads there. If we do get to a point where it's Jack Draper versus Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals, that might be the match I look forward to the most this tournament, given the stakes, given the hype. Djokovic's last stand. Draper looks great, and I do think he's in that discussion, top 4 right now, sure. How is he going to handle as the momentum builds, as the hype builds, as, okay, you're a British guy who has a legitimate chance to win Wimbledon? That is going to be something, and only he can answer that question, Hubbs, when the time arrives. We won't know before. So,
yeah, Marin Cilic next should be a cakewalk for the youngster and Draper. Maybe Cilic 10 years ago makes it interesting. And then obviously it helps, I think, big time that Bublik lost. That, it's going to be Munar, Bublik could have gave him some problems.
He was like the 6
obviously French.
He was like the 6 or 7 favorite going in. And I know it says how top heavy it is, but Bublik losing the way he did, and I think the quote was, I'm paraphrasing it, but this guy's got 3 wins on grass and he's moving like Carlos or no.
Yeah.
I
think Medvedev said the same thing about Bonzi today, or so. Yeah, it's the most Bublik thing to ever happen. It's for him. Everyone believes, wow, this is it. Grass court. He's so set up here. The odds makers are giving him some respect too, and you just go out in round 1 to Munar. Come on, man, can't even make it fun. Munar.
No, I know.
And especially because he had the match was on his rack in the 4th. It's just over. It's so Bublik. So frustrating. I love that guy, but he's so frustrating to watch sometimes.
He is. He is. Well, if we're looking for maybe other contenders, I mean, there's some other Americans to get to, which we will in a second. But we saw Mpetshi get by today, battle his way through. Fonseca plays Brooksby tomorrow. You know, he beat Fernley in a big first match. And I know Fonseca's been up and down, and we talk about the timeline. It's fair to think a couple years. This could be an opportunity for Fonseca, this Brooksby match where he is a clear favorite in, who's a tricky player to play when you're playing him for the first time. But Fonseca on grass, first Wimbledon main draw against Fernley, who's no slouch. Saw some real special stuff from the kid.
I did not think he was going to beat Fernley. I just thought that was a really tough first round for him. But the fact that he got through that kind of shows me he is developing quicker than I think I expected on the surface.
Straight sets, Hubbs. And by the way, there was a moment in that match, third set, Fernley had set point on Fonseca's serve. And he played a really smart, got his serve in, attacked, didn't overhit. That's when I'm like, whoa, like, okay, this is an advanced play.
And obviously, like, there's not many places where Fonseca is going to be like, the enemy. But, you're playing Fernley there and handle that well. Brooksby's going to be a challenge. Like, Brooksby is like it's just a frustrating, like, you saw what happened in round one, where he gets to reach for, and I did bet Brooksby in that match. He could just return everything and make you hit one extra ball. And, you can attack his serve as well. Fonseca, hopefully second serves, he punishes him. But yeah, he's minus 240. I think Vegas is starting to really respect him. That was one of the more stunning, I think, results of that first round, was Fonseca getting through that quickly against a tough opponent like that. So that was impressive. That jumped out to me.
I would agree with that too. And I also think, given what we know, given the opportunities here, some chances for American men to really make an impact. We talked about Fritz. Brooksby's a live underdog against Fonseca, but Tommy Paul's got a favorable matchup in round two, and so does Ben Shelton, who got through. Good to see him get back on track. Francis Tiafoe, Cam Norrie. I actually think Tiafoe is going to get up for that match. I think that's sometimes the worry you have with Foe is, okay, where's this match going to be? Is the juice going to be there? Playing a British guy at Wimbledon, I think he gets up for that. And I'd also add in Lerner T into that against Nicolas Jarry. Slight underdog could be a potential chance for him too. So there's a lot of options is what I'm trying to say, Hubbs. The Americans have to go deep here.
Dude, 100%. Shelton gets Rinky next round. That should be a favorable matchup for him. Winner of that will get Gale or Fuskevitz. I like Shelton's situation there. It was a good early little test for Bolt can be tricky with his serve, and you never know. Shelton didn't make that go any longer than it needed to. Tommy handled Monday, who was scheduled to play on a Tuesday. Tough draw for Monday. So he's got Offner, and then Grigor or Mute. Mute could be interesting. Mute's kind of picking up some momentum on grass all of a sudden here. And then obviously if he gets Sinner, I'd love for him to get to Sinner. I just want to believe it's tough to tell what physical state Tommy's in, right? Because the French ended so depressingly. So what I saw today was good. I hope that wasn't just a result of him playing this, this qualifier, and maybe he's actually in a good spot. We'll see. Maybe Offner's serve can make things a little bit more tricky. And Mute, you're going to get tested physically with Mute. So we'll see in the next few rounds, and if he gets through there and he gets to Sinner, if he's at Sinner and we haven't seen any physical issues, I wouldn't be shocked if he really tests Sinner on grass. Because Sinner's obviously, this is the surface he's the worst at. Now, by saying it's the worst, he's still really good at it. It's just not playing him in U.S. Open. It's a little different.
We'd all love to be the worst at something like Sinner is the worst at grass court tennis.
Exactly, 100%. But Ben's got a really nice opportunity here. Ben's draw is, Bashvili, Sinego, Opelka. You got to see the winner of Boone Nakashima, but Monfils, Fuskevitz, Ben has an opportunity to get through here, and then he would face a potential Shelton, right, in the court. So, opportunity knocks. We'll see. Fritz might have done himself in a little bit, and Diallo might be tough on short notice. But Tommy and you mentioned Tiafoe as well. Norrie is a good matchup for him.
Yeah.
Norrie hasn't been exactly flying colors lately. He's vulnerable. So American men have an opportunity once again. We'll see.
Want to see Shelton come to the net a little bit more. He's got that good serve. I want to see him finish points a little shorter on the grass. He did that today a lot, very well against Bolt. Interesting to note too, Tiafoe is in the live rankings. He's nudged up ahead of Shelton, that 10 spot. So those two are going to be competing for the top 10 ranking, depending on what happens. So a little subplot there. And yeah, the physical toll with Tommy is what we want to see. I didn't even mention Musetti. There were so many upsets today. Musetti lost. By all accounts, he's still very, very banged up from.
Oh, he said it too. Yeah, so. He said it. He said he tore his abductor, low grade abductor tear, and then he got sick, which really
brutal.
He was just running into everything. He was in a bad spot going into this tournament. But the odds kind of reflected that too, which I really actually thought. If he was healthy, I thought Musetti could have made another. He was a finalist last year, right? Or semifinalist? Semifinalist, sorry. Right. Obviously, Novak. But semifinalist. So I thought, actually, he's turned into an all-court player, but the injuries just added up, and it was just a really bad series of events, unfortunately.
Well, more with Barstool Hubbs here on the Inside in Tennis podcast. I want to talk Wimbledon women's side of things, which we touched on earlier, but some seeds are out. We've got some vulnerabilities. This has been the long shot tournament for the last couple years with Krejcikova, Vondrousova, who they both won, Rybakina before she became established. They're all still remaining in the tournament. You have, obviously, Sabalenka still is the prohibitive favorite, but not quite high on the odds like you'd see favored at other tournaments. And then Iga Swiatek won today, as did Andreeva, not looking as sharp in Mirra's case, but still getting through. So it's an interesting one to handicap the field. The odds makers think when everybody plays their best, as is most surfaces, Sabalenka is the best player. But it hasn't been guaranteed for her on this surface, and you're seeing some players emerge. So how would you assess this, and who are players maybe you're targeting to bet on or maybe back going into the rounds here?
I don't think she can win it all, but Iga's serve looks a lot better all of a sudden. Like, Iga's just play. I know she lost in the final, Jessie, but in the last tournament, but this is a much better version of Iga on grass than I expected to see. And maybe like those, she did rework her serve and it looked horrible at one point, but maybe it was just slow and steady to get to this point. Still don't think you can trust her to win this thing. It does help when top seed, 3 of the first 5 seeds are out, dropping like flies. Now, Zhang has never played well here. Pegula, it definitely makes it easier. I agree with you with the assessment at Sabalenka. Yeah, this is never so easy for her. And she's got a Svitolina date maybe lurking, or Mertens could be tricky here. Vondrousova potentially is quickly approaching. Sabalenka does not have a good draw. These are tough grass court opponents. And then, you look a little further and you get, keys potentially. Rybakina is the one, right? Like, that's the one where, she's great success here. And if there's odds currently, she's second favorite, plus 450 at the moment to win the whole thing. Then you got to be staring at her. Now, she would have a quick date with Iga coming up here. If Iga, I guess I'm looking at maybe Daniil Collins could trouble Iga, potentially with that power, but she hasn't had a good year, so I don't know. She hasn't won a lot of matches. So that's potentially what I'm eyeing as my most interesting matchup coming up would be Rybakina versus Iga a couple rounds. And the winner of that, it could get interesting and fun for them because their surrounding draw isn't too challenging. I don't think there's good value in Sabalenka right now to win ball with who's around her. I don't think that's the play.
I agree with that. I think that I'm not going to say, like, you make good points about Iga, but I'm going to stop short of saying she can't win it when we've seen 40-1 winners just as recently as last year win. So that said, though, some of those dates are tough. I'm looking at Vondrousova. I'm looking at that match coming up against Emma Raducanu and then where it goes from here. I thought McCartney-Kessler was a tricky first-round matchup. She handled that test well.
She's been winning a lot of matches lately, too, McCartney. And yeah, I agree. I didn't expect that to go that way.
Andreeva seems like there's something off, and I know it's a young player, and they're going to have patches even as talented as her. She could maybe figure some stuff out. You're not going to count her out, but she doesn't seem like she's in form. So if you really start to open it up, I'll throw some names at you. I mean, Anisimova couldn't have played more perfect in match. Literally perfect. 44 minutes. That? Bagel, Putin Seva. Thanks for coming. And that draw looks pretty tasty for her. So I think she has the tools to play well. Keys, it was tricky, but I do think that she can, trouble and match up in one match, beat anyone. I know it's a long draw, so I would add her to the list as well. And then you got to consider, I mean, they might not be the most exciting players depending on your cup of tea, but the big servers like Samsonova, like Alexandrova, they have a style that works. Samsonova beating Maya Joint. Alexandrova Hubbs is on the Pegula side, so her draw opens up. So there's some players that I think we can consider. But yeah, we've seen the upsets hit. If Rybakina starts serving well, though, as far as seeds go, she can serve her way to the title yet again.
Yeah, I'll say the thing about Andreeva is who's lurking in a if she wins one more match is the Canadian lucky loser who woke up today, didn't even know she was in the tournament, and all of a sudden she gets in. And Boku is a dangerous
That
player.
match next, though, by the way, she plays Haley Baptiste, who's played very well. That matchup, winner of that matchup, for sure, I think we agree, live underdog against Andreeva if it's that. So either one.
I think it's going to be Mboku, although, yeah, Haley Baptiste playing well. That's just what a nightmare matchup that was. Just to get her today after, lucky loser. Another one you got to throw out there is Osaka, winning a few matches here lately on grass, and she's got a nice little path. Kruger could give her Pavlyuchev, those two, but Naomi can't count her out with her power. But yeah, no, Anisimova is probably the most interesting as I look at the draw.
She's been banged up.
With her power too. Yeah. It's a good combination for grass.
She's been banged up, but I think this is good for you on the grass. It's going to be less strenuous. I like what she can do. She's proven it. I think she's very dangerous here. And I'd maybe throw in Emma Navarro. She beats Kvitova in Kvitova's last match, which two-time Wimbledon champ, did a lot here, obviously. Navarro handling it very, very easily to win that match. Emma's another one, right? She beats Coco last year. She gets to, I think, the quarterfinals. So she's a quarterfinalist coming back, defending some points. But with Navarro, it's her movement that separates her. One of the most athletic players in the world. And I think she's adjusted to the grass maybe a little better than most young players her age, able to move effortlessly. So I'd put her in the mix too. It's a deep field.
It's a fair point. I think what we're saying is this is wide open, and you might as well take someone with some pretty lengthy odds. Because it's a very good chance that outside the top three, somebody's top four. Because Andreeva, I don't think will win it. So there's a very good chance Sabalenka, Rybakina, Iga, and Andreeva are winning it. That means you can get someone at plus 1,400 or better at the moment. So yeah, take a dart throw. It's women's tennis.
Yeah, grass court women's tennis especially, but this is going to be very, very interesting. We'll see. This is always a blast. Other matches you're looking forward to before we wrap it up here? Round 2 matchups that we haven't maybe talked about. You got your eye on?
Let's scroll here. That Mboku match is definitely one that I have my eye on. Fritz match for sure. We'll see what kind of legs he's got with Diallo. I think I just saw he's only a minus 300 favorite. So Diallo might be a live dog there. Jarry Tien could be a lot of fun. Brooksby Fonseca we already touched on. I have my eye squarely there. That's probably it. Because I think we're going to see a lot of I don't think there'll be too many upsets in this round. There'll be, I guess, my bold prediction. I think the upset wave is going to stop for this moment. I think higher seeds whoever's left at least, will advance here. As I'm looking at. Bashvili Sanego could be a firefight. Those guys hit the piss out of the ball. And when Bashvili's healthy, which at the moment he is, his backhand and forehand are just absolute problems. Musetti obviously couldn't handle them whatsoever. So that's where I'm at.
My favorite play, and you said a lot of great stuff there, but my favorite play I think would be I think the better value is on over 3.5 sets, or it's basically Brooksby to win a set. I think that match is going to be not a straight sets Fonseca win. So I would take Brooksby to win a set.
There, but I might be honest. I don't mind him to win.
Yeah.
Plus 180, I don't mind him to win.
I keep it a little conservative on the picks we're giving out, so I'm not just bombarded with people saying, how could you get that pick out? But yeah, I think he's a live underdog for sure. And I think that, look at today. It's a perfect place to end on. Had the score app up today, looking at scores when I woke up.
Yeah.
You see the money line, you see the odds that won. And we had money line underdogs out the wazoo of people that won. So It will keep happening. It will keep happening.
I'm adding one more. This is who I think goes down. The best seed that goes down. I think Lloyd Harris takes out Rublev.
Ooh.
Lloyd Harris with his serve game on grass looked pretty good. I was actually stunned he actually ended up pulling it out. I thought he would fight. And Rublev, I can't trust him right now. I just can't do it. So, and it's plus 260 I'm seeing right now. So that would be my live dog to really keep an eye on.
Last question I have. You made me think of something. Rublev, Medvedev, Tsitsipas. Who gets back to the top 10 first, or do none of them get back?
Ooh. So where? Let's see. I need to know where they're exactly at this point.
I guess I could throw Casper in, but I have more faith that he'll do well on clay.
I saw a funny tweet that was like Casper won the same amount of games as all these guys that lost in the first.
That's great. Yeah, and he didn't have to put stress on his body. He can golf and go to the weekend.
Casper's 12. I think he's probably the most likely because he can play well on hard courts, and that's coming up. So let's throw Casper out there because that's not so fun. So Medvedev. Who else did you say?
I guess Rublev. Rublev is out and he could work his way back in this tournament, but he could also get pushed further down.
And who was the third?
And Tsitsipas, which is
he's more likely to retire than get back.
Okay, so the other three then. So then it's between the Russians and Casper.
I'll say Rublev because he plays more consistent, I think, at like in these 1000s and the hard courts coming up.
Okay.
So Medvedev is such a. I stopped myself. I was going to say Medvedev is more of a head case than Rublev. That's not great.
No.
I don't love where his games are right now. This was a puzzling loss. This one today. So I'll pick Rublev and wince when I say it.
All right, that's the answer. Well, Barstool Hubbs, this was a blast. What else you got going? I know Barstool Tennis has been taking off. A lot of good content there. Shout out to yourself and Blutman for doing a great job. But what else you got going on? What else can you plug here on the show?
The Yankees, they give a grand slam while I was talking to you, so we're not going to talk Yankees at the moment. We'll see if the Knicks trade for LeBron. Try to plug in. I don't know. We're just keep doing our thing.
Good.
Hopefully the paycheck keeps coming in every 2 weeks, and that's about it.
That's the plan. Glad we stayed firm, and when the Yankees gave up that grand slam, nothing drastic happened. But
no.
Barstool Hubbs, man, all the best. Thanks for coming on the show. It's always a blast talking tennis, and we'll be enjoying Wimbledon.
You got it, Mitch. No doubt.
That was Barstool Hubbs. You can find every episode of the Inside In Tennis podcast on all your podcast platforms. Go to Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, search Inside In Tennis podcast. Smash that subscribe button so the episodes automatically download. And subscribe to the YouTube channel at Mitch Michals for the full video episodes of all the podcasts, including this one. We're back in a few days. More Wimbledon updates for Barstool Hubbs. I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside In Tennis podcast. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.